Hey guys, what's going on? And in this episode of the How to Get on Reality TV podcast, we bring on a special guest who went from audience listener to actually on a show. Hope you guys enjoy it. Welcome to the How to Get on Reality TV podcast with Dan Giesling, where I answer your reality TV casting questions once a week. Hey everyone, and welcome to the How to Get on Reality TV podcast and a very special episode. My name is Dan Giesling, and as always, I'm really excited to be here today because we have a special guest. And we don't bring on guests very often, but when we do, they're very special. Normally, there's someone that's come from the community that's had some success and been cast on reality TV, and that is the case with our guest this week, none other than Johnny McGuire. John McGuire, Johnny Mack, better known as his stint on Big Brother 17. Really excited. We have a great interview lined up for you today. And he does a great job throughout the interview. It's very real and very honest and gives some tips in his own unique way. But before we get into the interview with John McGuire, I want to give you guys a heads up about a product that has been developed to help you guys get cast on reality TV. It's something I don't really talk about in depth too much, but it's the How to Get on Reality TV Video Bootcamp. It's a video course I created that's the equivalent of me sitting next to you virtually and being your teacher and putting you in a position to be successful to get cast on reality TV for people that are really serious and want to get started and get their video knocked out in a weekend. This is the perfect thing. There's 4 classes that take you through everything you need to know to how to get cast. You could knock it out in a Saturday afternoon if you really wanted to hammer it out. You could do it easily over a weekend, or if you wanted to space it out, you could do it over the span of a week, but it includes everything you need to know, worksheets to keep you on track, videos that track your progress, and everything to put yourself in a position to draw out your stories, understand who your character is going to be and why they're going to be on the show. And it puts everything together for you from A to Z. If you want to check that out, you can go to howtogetonrealitytv.net/video. All the information on how to access the video course is readily available by going to howtogetonrealitytv.net/video. And at the end of this podcast, and this is something I definitely don't do, as a result of, this great interview that Johnny Mack gave, there's going to be a special code at the end of the podcast that will hook you guys up with a little bit of a discount that you can use on that video boot camp. And you guys are like, whoa, dude, we never discount our products, and we don't. But because it's such a special episode with special guests, I want to do something because that's what Johnny Mack would do. So without any further ado, I want to go ahead and introduce our interview with John McGuire, aka Johnny Mack from Big Brother 17. Enjoy, guys. Very excited on a special episode of the podcast today. As you guys can see, we have a very special guest, Mr. John McGuire, known from his latest stint on Big Brother. And, he's coming on the show, and I'm really excited to have him because he's like one of us. He's a normal guy that happened to get cast on Big Brother. For those guys that don't know him, he's very well liked, had a very memorable character, which we're going to talk about how he developed that. But John, better known as Johnny Mack, welcome to the podcast.
What's up, Dan? How's it going, man?
It's good. It's good to finally talk to you face to face. I know we had talked via email a couple of years ago. We're going to get into that. Yeah, but I'm excited to talk to, so Johnny Mack is kind of the character that evolved from the show, but I'm also interested to talk about like John McGuire pre-Johnny Mack, because I think that a lot of people will get something from that.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So before we jump into the questions, how has life been for you post, getting off the show? Because you just got off the show, 4 months ago? It was about 4 months ago? Okay.
About 4 months ago, like about the amount of time we were there. It's been crazy. I took about a week off. I went right back to work because student loans don't stop. And, I've just been getting back into the swing of things. Things are going pretty well. And, I'm just trying to figure out where to go from here.
Cool. All right, so at the end, we're going to do something a little different. I'm going to ask you a few questions at the end of the interview about, readjusting post-life. And what that is, because a lot of people don't talk about that, in particular for someone wanting to go from point A to get on the show to where you are now. You've been on the show, but enough about that. People want to hear about your story and how you got started. So my first question for you is, when did this start for you? When did you say, hey, I want to get on reality TV? Like, do you remember where you were, how old you were, and when that started for you?
Yeah, so I started watching Survivor in 8th grade. That would have been season 2. I went back and watched season 1, and then I was watching that for years, and then Big Brother had been on that entire time. I just never watched it. And then I think season 8, I was like, oh, it's like Survivor in a house. I'll give it a shot. And I watched it. I was hooked, and I just watched it year after year. And I was still a teenager at that point. I wasn't even thinking about trying to get on it.
How old do you think you were? Like 17, 16, or younger?
Yeah, it might have been around there by that point. Yeah. And early 20s, I was in dental school. And I was just sitting and watching it one summer. I was like, this would be cool to actually play it, because you sit there and you're like, oh, I would have done this, I would have done that, I'd be so good at this game. And I just wanted to get into it. I've always been into poker and everything. I'm pretty good at that. So I was like, I might do good at this. We'll see. And I think it was season 14, man. That was after that one, I was like, all right, I'm giving this a shot next year. So that's when I started like looking up stuff. I was patrolling the internet for everything I could find. I read your stuff. I read Matt Hoffman's article. You'd read stuff on Survivor Sucks all the time. And I did, that's why I was like, all right, I'm going to give it a serious shot here.
All right, cool. I want to rewind real quick. So before so you're a teenager watching the show, then you go through college, and in between that, like that window there, you weren't really like thinking about applying. You were just kind of doing your thing and obviously working hard in school so you could become a dentist. Or was there any part of you, like, did you apply for any shows during that time?
No, I didn't apply for any shows during that time.
Okay.
Yeah, I was the big fan of these shows, and my friends were like, God, these are so lame. I don't know how you watch them. And then I was watching Big Brother in the summer, and they'd be like, I can't believe you're watching this trash. I'd be like, all right, whatever. And then they'd sit down for 5 minutes and watch the whole season with me. So it just sucked me in, and I just watch them, yeah.
Okay, cool. So you go through college, you go through dental school, and then, you said a couple years ago, so call it 2012, you're like, all right, I want to get on Big Brother. So then what did you do? So like you're watching it, the summer's over, the commercial comes up, hey, apply for the show. Then what did you do?
Yeah. So I start going to the internet, like what works, what doesn't. I found your stuff. I found your book. I did do the boot camp. That helped a little bit. That was pretty good. Got me in the right direction there. Matt Hoffman has an article somewhere out there. That helped. It at least helped for me to know what I'll be up against going forward. And then, I just started looking at all kinds of stuff, like how to be entertaining in front of the camera. And I think, I don't know.
Okay.
I think other stuff, yeah, but that's how I started.
All right, so let me ask you this. So when you go down to decide, okay, so you start searching the internet and you're collecting all this information, what did you know? What was the first thing you did? Did you decide, hey, I'm going to do an open casting call, or are you going to do a video? What route did you go?
It's going to be definitely video all the way.
Okay, why did you decide on doing a video versus open casting call?
Because I read it in a lot of places, not just your thing, but like the open casting call, there's so many things that are out of your control. You don't know what other kinds of people are going to be there. And plus, like, if the thing I thought about it, the open casting call is like, yeah, they do get people from there, but at the same time, it happens right before the show starts. It's really just like building hype for the show. And I think that's also a big part of why they do it.
Okay.
They do get people from them for sure, but at the same time, it's building up a lot of hype for the show. It's like, maybe take away helping the show and help myself, make sure I make a good video.
Okay. All right, so you knew early on for you're like, okay, I'm not going to go the open casting call route. I know I'm going to go the video route. So once you decided that, how did you start to like pull your story together? Where, you start from nothing. So you're just a guy and you're like, okay, I want to make a video. Take me through how you started in deciding, what you were going to be or how you're going to portray yourself.
Yeah. So at that point in my life, in like real life, like not the way I was in the diary room, the way I was in the house, like I was quieter than that. Like in my high school class, I got like the award for quietest kid. So I had some things to change for sure.
Okay. Let me ask that. So you're telling me like, through high school, and were you like that in college? Like how were you in college as a personality, or as how did you communicate and that sort of thing?
I've never been like the person like that walks into a room and people are like, oh my God, they're here, So it was definitely something I had to change a little bit, something I had to be more comfortable with. And it's just like you're in your head, or you're observing stuff instead of like just doing stuff, because I felt like going up until that point, I was thinking all these things, like everything I say in the diary room, like that's definitely me. It's what's in my head. It's just I wasn't effective at communicating it.
Okay.
I had to figure out how to do that.
Well, I think that's a huge thing, because I think a lot of people who want to get on reality TV are naturally more reserved. Who want to get on, not the people that get on, but who want to get on are naturally more reserved. So for you, you're like, which I think is awesome to hear. I think you're the first person I've heard actually say that. Like, you were aware that you were shy or more reserved, so you decided to do something about it. So that's a really big jump to go from like a fairly like quiet personality to like understanding how to do that. Do you remember some things you did early on, like on the video? Not even like, I don't want to talk about the video yet, but like to get yourself in position, because you don't just go from like, oh hey, I'm John McGuire, to like, hey, I'm John McGuire, I'm a dentist. Like, how did that happen for you?
First of all, my job helped a lot, because I was getting to the point where I was starting clinic. I had to talk a lot more with patients. So the more you do it, the better you get just talking with people. And then another thing I had to do was change my mindset. Like, a lot of people want to get on these shows like Survivor and Big Brother, maybe not the other reality shows, but like these ones in particular, it's a lot of mental game, and that's what you focus on. And you might be a really strategic thinker, and that's great, but that's not fun to watch. So you have to be strategic and be crazy. Like, people think of a gladiator fight. Like, if there was someone who could walk into the ring and just everyone else died, everyone would be like, wow, that's impressive, but we don't really care. But if someone's going in there and they're pulling their sword off and they're cutting people's heads off and they're doing all kinds of fancy moves, like, you got to do it in style. You can't be thinking strategy all the time. Okay. And that's what people come to watch. That's what filled the Coliseum centuries ago.
That's a great analogy. So you understood that. So one of the things that helped, you said, was talking to people in your workplace, developing rapport with your clients or your patients. So that helped. Do you remember doing anything else? Like, did you do anything to push yourself socially outside of work? Like, I don't know if it, or you just, was there anything else outside of talking to your clients or your patients that helped push you out of that, we'll call it the shy zone, to being more dynamic?
Yeah, I think another thing was, like, I was just never really sure of where I was going in life. I think this is what really helped me. Like, when I sat down after I read your book and you go through the why factors and all that stuff, it works for getting on reality TV, but what you're also doing there is you're kind of like, if you didn't know who you are, you start to reflect on things and you're like, this is my motivation in life. This is what I want to do. And you get the drive to finally do that. And then at the same time, like, you see like people like, I don't know, they're doing fake acting stuff on TV. They're like, what's my character's motivation? It's like, there is your character's motivation. You know what drives you now. You can talk about that endlessly now, and then you stop caring about people judging you, because you're like, no, I know what I want out of life. This is what I want. This is me. And it's not like you're trying to con these people into putting you on a show. It's just like you figured yourself out. You're comfortable with putting yourself out there, and then that's what they want, because that's what they want to see.
That's awesome. So it sounds like it helped pull the things out of you. So you talk about like the why factor. So for you, when you're sitting down and you're like, you've been through dental school and you're doing all that, when you went to fill that out, do you remember like some of the things you wrote down, or some of the things that were like, okay, this is why I want to do this?
Yeah. The main thing that I focused on, my parents have a lake house that's falling down. I wanted to help them out with that. And I think I arrived at that because I was like, all right, why am I a dentist? And I was immediately like, because I want money.
But is that the only reason why you became a dentist? Because you want money?
Yeah.
100%. You had you didn't like looking at people's teeth, or you don't?
No, there were a lot of kids in dental school that were like that. And it just, all these things show up. Like, kids, they just love teeth, or they just want to help people. Like, when I interviewed for dental school, like, we do group interviews a lot, like an open call. And people would be like, I was in all these, like, charity fraternities and all this stuff. I just want to help people. I was like, no, that's dumb. Like, I'd say this in the interviews. I was like, I want the money. I want the lifestyle. There's a lot of other ways to help people. Like, and I'd say this right after other people and kind of shoot them down, because I'd have the people in the dental school kind of laughing about that, but people interviewing us. So I was like, okay. Not just a side thing that opens up like, oh, I am a little different than other dentists.
Well,
being okay to admit that kind of stuff, but
without hearing anything, the rest of your story right now, like one of the things that just interviewing you, I can tell, and by that answer is like you're really honest, and that comes like through. I'm like, I was trying to pull some kind of answer out of you that's outside of money, and you're like, no, dude, it's just money. Like that. Yeah. So
yeah, I just want money, and I didn't want to work 70 hours a week on Wall Street either. I want money. I want to work less than 40 hours a week, and that's it.
Okay. So one of the things you talked about was your parents' lake house, and you said it was like kind of falling down, or
yeah. My parents have done a lot for me, and I wanted to help them out. And it's from the 1800s, and I want the money to help them rebuild it and pay off my student loans. Dental school is not cheap, so I had all that motivating me, and that's why I wanted to be on the show. I mean, yeah, I'm a super fan. I want to play. I think I'd be awesome at it. But at the same time, it's like that can't be your sole motivation in life. Like that, there's so many people out there that say that, and they don't have any idea what else they want to do with their lives. Like you need to figure out like what you want to do long term, and that's the character they want. I mean, they'll want one super fan a year, but they want anything else besides that to fill out those other spots, So
I think it's really important, because if you're casting the show and you look at someone like you and they're like, okay, when push comes to shove, why is Johnny Mack here? And you're there for the money, but why are you there for the money? I'm sure you did a great job. Like you just mentioned a small detail when talking about the house, and I could tell you're prideful. You're like, it was built in the 1800s. Like I think when they're thinking when push comes to shove, like he wants the money. At least we know for this reason 100% sure. Like I don't think that like that's not a BS answer from you. Which is a real part of your story, and I think that's really important because it comes across as honest and genuine. And sorry you didn't win the money to work on the house, but I'm sure you'll do fine otherwise. So when you got pushed a little bit, so you would say that you wanted to go on the show. So one, for money. Two, to help your parents out with the lake house. Was there anything else that you remember writing down or using as like a motivation for your character or your reason to get on the show?
No, those were the main things, and I just like the side thing, the super fan thing, and like how I thought I'd be good at this game. Why I was built for the show, because strategical thinker, I interact with people a lot at work, and I just thought other reasons why I'd be a good fit. But as far as motivation's concerned, like that was it. It was money.
Okay, so we nailed down your motivation. If you see me looking down, I'm just writing down notes. I'm not ignoring you.
Yeah.
So we got your motivation down. So okay, that makes sense. So we understand what's driving you. But who did you decide you were as a character that you were going to pitch or that you were going to explain to people? So like, how did you just start putting your story together or understanding how to put your story together to tell in a video? Like, where did you start for that?
Yeah, so I started off, I was a dental student at the time, which isn't as cool as dentist, so no one really cares. So I was just trying to figure out, like, how do I set my part? I'm a dentist, dental student, what else am I? And a couple things I noticed about myself, like I never went to class like everyone else did. They were always worried about getting good grades, and I just hated going to class. So I was like, all right, I mean, I'm a nerdy rebel, but still a rebel.
Okay.
So
Did you use the term nerdy rebel somewhere in your video, or you remember in casting?
No.
Okay, someone should steal that, because that's a good way to describe it.
Maybe I portrayed that, but never actually said it.
Okay, someone should steal that. That's a really good way to describe something. Okay, so you didn't go to class.
Yeah, and at the time I was really into metal and screamo and all this stuff, and I thought that's kind of weird for a dentist. Yeah. I was doing all these guitar covers, putting them up on YouTube, some like really weird stuff that people don't do.
Are they still up there?
Oh yeah, they're up there. A lot of people watch them during the show.
What would be one of the weirdest ones? Total sidetrack note. What's like the weirdest one? So when we hang up, I can go watch it and be like, did I just interview that guy?
Yeah. So it's called Air Tap, and it's under a different channel that I had back then. All one word, slow fuse, then the number 61.
All right, I'm going to check that out.
And it's an acoustic guitar. I lay it on my lap. I'm doing like I'm almost playing like a piano, like hitting the strings so hard that they vibrate instead of like plucking them.
Okay.
And when most people see it, they're like, so
Bizarre.
yeah, jaws dropped, and I was like, you know what, if I could get them to see that video at all, that'll make them intrigued too.
That's smart, because I can't, like, just as an average person, like, I don't think I've ever seen anyone playing a guitar like, fingers up and down. You see them like this, so that's super bizarre. I don't want to say super unique, which is awesome that you recognize that. So you started to play like what do you call it, like just the guitar roll, or how did you decide to?
Yeah, so I was just like, all right, Rebel doesn't really like to go to class like the other dental school kids, plays guitar, rock star. And maybe, I'm not selling out arenas, but in my mind, I've got the that's the attitude. So
okay, so you you came to that, you arrived to that. Okay, so you're gonna pitch yourself as the rock star dentist. Like, did you realize what you were doing?
Yeah. That's it. I called myself the rock star dentist all the way through.
Okay, cool. So so you kind of have an idea. So your motivation. You have an idea how you want to pitch yourself. When you started to shoot your audition video, what did you do? Like, what was the first thing you did for your audition video? Did you just turn on the camera and run and like go, or how did you set up your video?
I knew that I was gonna show a couple crazy things I do. I think it starts out with my first video, which is my worst video. It's my first one. Yeah, but
okay, let me freeze there because I didn't ask you an important question. When was the first time you applied for the show? What season? Do you remember?
It would have been 15, so I don't know. That was summer of 13.
Okay, so you applied. You were on 17, so you applied 15?
15, 16, 17, yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, so your first video, sorry. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so my first video, I just know I gotta have the energy, all that stuff. So I'm just yelling at the camera to start off with, just like the basic stuff. Here's my name. Here's what I do. Yada yada yada, all that stuff.
Well,
like
what's the yada yada? So hey, I'm John. I'm John McGuire from Pennsylvania. I'm a rock star dentist.
Yeah.
And
my age, stuff like that. It's hard to remember because I haven't watched it in a long time. I remember my third one very well.
Okay.
But the first one, I don't remember.
The first one
you
felt was bad? The first one you did was bad?
No, like for my first attempt, it was very good.
Okay.
It's the worst of the three, though, for sure.
All right.
Yeah.
So you do your intro then, like, give me, like, for someone that's never seen the video, so only, you've seen it or whoever's seen it, but, like, try to describe it to us. Like, so there's the intro, then what happens?
Okay. I played the Big Brother theme song on my guitar.
Okay, live, or did you, like, insert that clip in?
Insert.
Okay.
Like, it's all chopped up.
Okay.
It's not one continuous shot.
Okay.
So I did that. At the time, I'm a dental student, so I show them around the dental school.
So you're a student. You're not so you can't. Did you show them? You couldn't really show them, like, hey, here's the chair that I operate in, and it was more like the school.
There's hundreds of chairs in a dental school. You could be anywhere.
Okay.
But we do have this pre-clinic laboratory where you work on fake people. So I threw sunglasses on my patient Bob, and I started like drilling teeth out on there. I think the sunglasses fell off at one point. I just kept that in there. It was funny. So I had that. I had me walking around the lake house, like showing it from the outside because it's like obviously old. I'm talking about how I want to fix it up and all that kind of stuff. Then there's one part I'm trying to like show like I'm competitive. I'm ready to play this game. It's just me sitting on my couch playing Mario Kart and I'm cursing at the TV.
Was it staged or was it like you actually like playing normally, or were you like playing?
No, I get that excited.
Okay.
I got hit by a blue shell and I freak out.
Okay. Were you playing Mario 64 or were you playing, which one were you playing? The Super Nintendo?
It was the Wii Mario, so I was going like this.
Gotcha.
Like,
all right.
Yeah. And then by the end of it, I thought it was a witty closer, and I had this little I don't have it with me. It's somewhere in storage, but I have like the fake jaw that we used in dental school. I'm like, this is gonna be even easier than pulling teeth. And I like clap.
That's really good. That's like one of the CBS fed like cheesy ones.
Yeah,
That's really
like,
good. That's good, man.
The line that might be on TV. Yeah. So and that's how I closed that one out.
So let me ask: is that video available anywhere online for people to see, or is it like buried in the McGuire family archives?
I think someday it'll be online.
Okay. All right. Cool. So it sounds like, I mean, you had an understanding of what to do. Like, and it's like just without seeing it, sounds fairly entertaining. So when you went to send it in, like, how did you feel about it? Like, did you feel like, this is pretty good? Or you're like, I don't know, man. I'm just.
Yeah, I gave it my best shot. I was like, this is the best I could do this year, and I feel pretty good about it. Yeah, send it in.
Okay, so you send it in, send it off. So this is, we'll call it 2013, season 15 of Big Brother. You send it off, and then do you hear anything back?
Yes.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so
is this area that we're...
Yeah, I mean, we don't have to get specifics in terms of what happened at there, but like it's interesting to find out like how far you got, and then like where you got rejected, or if you couldn't make it because of dental school or what have you. So like, what you get a call and it's like, hey, come to semifinals, or set up a Skype interview or what?
Yep. A lot of things that are in a certain book, they're probably still pretty accurate.
Okay. So when you got when you take me through how you felt. So did you get a call or an email and you're like, were you like jacked? Were you surprised? Were you like, do you remember that moment?
Yeah. So I had just come home from a date and we were at a bar. So I was like kind of tipsy to begin with. And then I see.
How did the date go?
It went very well. Okay. Thank you. I got home and the phone lights up and I was ecstatic. I was like, I can't believe this is working. Like it actually does happen. So, I was pumped. I was kind of, and it's the same thing the whole way. The way you were in the video, you gotta answer the phone the same way. So,
that's important.
Yeah.
Some people don't realize that. That's really important that you like. So you knew that back then. You're like,
you're always playing the game. Always.
That's really smart though, because it's like it shows you're consistent throughout. So you get the call and it's like, hey, ready for the next step. Okay.
Yeah.
And it comes time for the next step. Did you do anything to prepare? Were you like freaking out? What did you do?
I freaked out. The window was not. The time window was not that big, so there's really no time to prepare. And I pretty much winged it, yeah. Okay.
So you winged it. Do you remember anything like, so during the second interview, the semifinal interview, do you remember thinking like anything like, I messed up there, or I wish I would have done something differently? Like, do you remember was there any one point that like really sticks out to you about that experience?
I think the biggest thing was that I was overthinking.
Okay.
That was it.
So you walked out of this, or you left the semifinal, and you're like, I overthought that too much.
Yeah, I walked out of there. I'm just like, I was focusing too much on giving the correct answer than just being what I was trying to build.
Got it.
Or not build. It ends up at that point. I don't know if I fully trusted what I was doing. Maybe that's the best way to put it.
Yeah.
Like eventually, you keep going over the stuff in your head. Like you're talking about building a character or whatever, and you go over it enough. It's part of you. It is you, and it just wasn't coming out yet.
Yeah. No, I think you bring up a great point where it's like, okay, you build this thing and you are this thing, but at some point it's like there's something else beyond that. Like you can't be perfect, right? You can't be the perfect rock star dentist that always gives like kick-ass answers and like stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, cool. So you go to the semifinal interview, you leave, and what happens next? You get a go call? Do you get a like, hey, sorry, bro, you had too much rock star power for us, or what?
Yeah, it was hey, it's not it's not you, it's me. That's what.
Okay, so yeah. I'm guessing you either got a call or an email. So when you got that call or email, like, did you try to pull any information on the call? Were you like, why? Like, how was? Because that's obviously devastating. But what was going through your head when that happened?
that's your first instinct. It's to be like, what the hell? Yeah, come on, I worked so hard at this. It didn't work. But then, I don't know. This is probably going to be different for everyone. I mean, yeah, it's good to get some information, but hopefully you're good enough to just figure out what went wrong on your own, because me, Rockstar Dennis, is not going to come begging for why didn't I get on the show.
Yeah.
But yeah, it didn't work. Whatever.
Okay.
So just said thanks. See you next year.
Okay,
that's it.
So 2013 goes through. You don't get past semifinals. However, like, the fact that you get a call back after your first video is pretty, like, anyone else that's listening, that's really good. So you got shut down your first time going on, like, you're in good company. And then what happened? So, like, you watched this. So what was it like for you when you saw the cast that, essentially beat you out, or, did you put two and two together, or are you just over it, or what?
No, you're still seething at that point. I watched it, I'm like, why did they pick this person? This moron's going in there. Like, oh my god, I can't believe they picked these people. What the hell? And then, it hurt when you see those people get picked and say you, like, and some of them are super fans. Some of them got what you wanted so bad, and you're just like, oh, I wish I was you. I'm so jealous right now. It's pretty hurting.
So you watch a season and you enjoy it, or you kind of get through it. So is there, like, anything that, while the season was wrapping up, that you're like, did you know you were going to apply again, or you just like, where was your mindset at?
Oh yeah. As soon as I got rejected, I was like, all right, time to start working on it for next year. I mean, even before the cast was announced, I had additions to my story ready to go.
Okay.
Like, I figured my video is good enough as it is. Now it's like, and I think I've heard it a couple times on the internet. I've even heard Robin say it, like, when you're younger, you don't really have a whole lot of life experience. So, like, it's amazing when you get on. Like, Steve got on this year as 22. That's crazy. But, like, really, all that changes the next year, you can't do the same thing. You have to change a little yourself. So I was like, all right, anything major that happens this year, like, it's going to be in the video. And like, maybe a week after I got rejected, I was running a Tough Mudder, and I got hypothermia and almost died. So I was like, I was just rejected, and I already have ammo ready to go. Like,
so let me ask this, and whether it's consciously or subconsciously, when you signed up to do the Tough Mudder, was it completely separate from your wanting to get cast on the show?
Yeah, I was already signed up. Like, for those things, you sign up like 9-10 months in advance.
Wow. Okay.
Good price, yeah.
So you do it, and did you finish it?
No, I almost died. They pulled me out.
Why? You had hypothermia?
Yeah, so there's an obstacle called the Arctic Enema, and it's basically a giant, one of those long construction dumpsters. Yeah. They fill it with ice water, and they put a plank in it that's probably submerged 2 feet under. So you have to jump in, you get to the plank, you have to go under.
Under it?
Yeah, and you have to get out the other side, and like the air leaves your chest, you cramp up immediately. But I kept running. It was a cold, windy day out, and I couldn't get warm again. The next time I slowed down at like a rest stop, like everything started cramping. I didn't have any pulse in my limbs. So they're like, yeah, you got to come out. You can't move.
Okay. So I'm guessing the way that you describe this to me is like how you told the story in either your video or the next part of casting. Okay, awesome. So so you got essentially rejected because you didn't have enough life experience. So you load up with a hypothermia story. If you're watching this, don't get hypothermia to add value to your story. Yeah. So did anything else major happen in, that season after, the year after you applied for the first time?
Lots of things. Yeah. So after that happened, I'm at home. I'm bummed that I didn't make the show. I didn't finish my Tough Mudder. So that night I signed up for another Tough Mudder. Like 2 weeks later, I drove out there. I did the Arctic Enema, and I finished it. I made sure that I had someone there videotaping me doing some of the harder obstacles, and that was part of it. And I talked about, like, yeah, I'm going to fail, but I'm still going to try again, and I'm going to do it. So I had that happen. One night I was at – the amazing thing now is having smartphones, because this is great. So I was at a country concert, and it starts raining about an hour into the set, and like torrential downpour, and they end up canceling it. So I'm running in the rain. I'm like, this would be a cool shot. And I'm just yelling at the camera about how I left a country concert. Then I get in the car, and my car gets caught in a flood, and it starts getting washed away. I'm like, all right, well, this sucks, but let's videotape it. So just bad stuff happened. I had a couple clips like that.
Wait, so you were like, there's a video of you like floating in your car, or like standing on your car, or what?
It's like when my car finally stops, I got out and I safely got out of the vehicle. I'm freaking out for like 10, 15 minutes. I'm like, oh my God, I'm losing my car right now. It is gone. And then I'm like, well, forget it. Let's at least get a good video out of this or something. So then, yeah, I talk at the camera for that.
These are like, and I'm going to toot your horn, these are very, very smart things to do. I mean, like, because that moment could have easily passed by, and that's not something that you can like, hey, I want to stand in a flood today with my car so I can get good footage. Like, that's was extremely intelligent of you.
Yeah, you gotta have your phone with you at all times. Like, buy a cell phone.
Okay, so you got you have the tough hypothermia plus redemption story because you went back again and beat it, which is awesome. Your car is flooding. Did you add anything else to your second attempt?
I'd been playing a video game at the time called Borderlands. Hilarious. And I loved all the energy from that game. I was like, that's how I want my intro to be. So I redid the intro and everything.
What part of Borderlands is the intro?
Did you play?
I played the first Borderlands.
It's obscure. So, okay, It's Borderlands 2. It's Mr. Torg's Campaign of Carnage. So this is the first time you're getting to meet Mr. Torg. Okay. There's like this little intro, and he's just like this in your face, loud. He doesn't care what everyone thinks of him. He's this idiot. He's just yelling at the camera. And if you looked it up on YouTube, I think if you look like Mr. Torg's Campaign of Carnage intro, that's what it was called. Like that, I was like, that's how my intro needs to be. It needs to be in your face, loud. That's it. And so I did that. And so yeah, I knew my video. I was good at making the video, but I was like, you got to push it a little bit farther every year. So
let me ask you, at any point, like, did you feel like you weren't like? I think that's awesome. You took like inspiration from its video game intro, but at any point did you feel like you were overacting, or how did you justify with yourself like doing something like that without feeling like, oh, I'm being fake?
Because that was me. I don't know. I just saw a lot of myself in it.
Okay.
But I was like, no, this is how I need to communicate what's going on in my head. Like, you kind of like assume people can feel the way you're feeling without portraying it, I guess, for a lot of people. But it's like, no, you got to make sure you're communicating how you feel at that moment. I was like, that's how I feel. That's what I got to do.
That's awesome. Okay, cool. So you revamp your second attempt video. You have some more life experience, which are really just stories and like crazy things that happen to you. You have like a bolder intro. Is there anything else that you did different, or was like you same main character pitch and all that sort of thing?
Yeah, everything's the same then after that. I used clips from the old one that were still good, and send it in.
That's awesome. That's another great tip. Especially like for those other people that are listening that have had success going to the semifinals. Like, you're doing something right, so there's absolutely nothing wrong. Like John did, of like taking parts of it. You don't want to do the exact same thing, but like, what do you remember? Any clips you reused? Like, was it? I'm trying to think what you would have said.
I reused the Mario Kart.
Okay.
Because I just thought that was funny. So and I reused the guitar part. I shortened it a bit to fit within the 3 minutes. And you know what? Going over if the show you're going for has a 3-minute time limit, if you go over that a little bit, like I was worried, like, oh, they're not gonna watch it if it's 3 minutes. Like, no, if you go over it and they like you enough to watch the whole thing, they're gonna watch the.
They're
whole
gonna
thing.
be glad that you went a little over. Yeah. No doubt. Okay, cool. So you submit that. You're feeling at least more like you had confidence because you got a call back. Now you got to have more because you've got that it's better. Like you can just feel that it's better. So then, did you get a call back to go to semifinals, or what happened?
Good things happen again, and I feel really good after the whole experience again. And I get rejected again.
So you get to semifinals again. Did you go to finals for 14?
No.
So you get the call or email.
16.
Wait, so you get the call Oh, for 15. I'm sorry.
16.
16. 15 was the first. Sorry. 16. You get the call and you're like, what was it like this time, the second rejection?
This hurt. Like, I was convinced I was on there, and like reads on the situation and stuff. I thought I was getting on the show, and I did not get past. I didn't get past what I got past last year, and so I was like, "This is ridiculous." Like, I thought I killed it. I was way better. And then the cast comes out. I'm like, oh my God, these schmucks are on here. I'm like, oh my God, there's Frankie Grande.
Did you communicate any of that disappointment to, or like questioning to the casting person that called you? I'm like, dude, what the, like,
no,
I brought it. I killed it.
I never saved any contact information from the people because I was like, I don't want to get in a situation where I'm tempted to talk to them because Johnny Mack would not call them. Rockstar says like, yeah, I don't care. I'll try again next year.
Was it the same? Was it the same person?
What I would do.
Was it the same person? Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. You're like, I hate this person. This person. No. Okay. So you don't have any contact, which is smart because you don't want to creep one of the things that like people need to understand, which you do, it's like you don't want to creep that person out and like blow any of your chances by like, why didn't I get on? What the hell? Like, and
yeah,
maybe John wanted to do that, but it sounds like Johnny Mack wouldn't let him do that.
No, absolutely not. And like, and I think you might have said it before, it's like dating. Like if you hear text after text from someone, you're just like, oh my God, stop. And they're real people and they don't want to be bothered. Yeah. This is their job. Like when I'm at work, I get to know people, but like when I'm at home, I don't like being called about problems. I mean, sometimes I have to do stuff on emergency. I don't like bringing work home with me. They don't like bringing work home with them. It's a job.
That's a really, really great tip, and I hope a lot of people are listening to Johnny Mack on that one. All right, cool. So I think so you've applied twice. You've got to the semifinals twice. You get shut down, and then the next season rolls around, and as luck should have it, I don't call it luck. I call it grinding and opportunity. You get some good news. But before we get to that good news, we're going to cut this episode of the podcast, and we'll continue with the second part of Johnny Mack's story next week. So I'm excited to find out, but I'm going to find out right now because we're going to finish the interview, but you guys have to wait another week. All right, guys, thank you so much for listening to part 1 of the interview with John McGuire, a.k.a. Johnny Mack. And I love cliffhangers as much as the next person. And his interview, it was going so well that we decided to do it in a 2-part episode. We kind of set it up like that before because I figured, he'd be a great interview. He's very honest, and he gives a lot of real organic tips that just kind of come out. And, it's great to hear his story. And in the second part next week, you'll get a chance to hear the culmination of what happens to him and really what he really learned from the whole thing. Before we get into that, I want to remind you guys about the How to Get on Reality TV video bootcamp that John had mentioned he had used during his process and getting cast on reality TV. You can check that out by going to howtogetonrealitytv.net/video. And all the information is there on how to access it. And as a special thank you to you guys listening to this podcast, and it's what Johnny Mack would do. There's a special coupon code if you order it. The first 20 people to order the How to Get on Reality TV video bootcamp from this moment forward, there's only 20 of them. If you use the code Johnny Mack, all lowercase JOHNNY MAC, not MACK. So all one word, all together, lower caps, no space. Use the code Johnny Mack. When checking out, you get 10% off the How to Get on Reality TV video bootcamp, but there's only to the first 20 people because that's what we did. So I hope you guys enjoyed the podcast and the interview. Next week we'll be back with part 2, and I hope you guys enjoy that just as well. I think you will. And not to be a spoiler, but I already did it, and it's really good. So you guys are going to enjoy it. I'll see you guys next Monday, and have a great week.